Welcome to This Week in Canada, brand new show on the Solid On Sports Podcast Network. It is great to be back. Took a little time off. It is good to be back. And I am joined by Ryder. You know him from the S.O.S with Ryder and Lisa on Oilers Nation. And if you're out west, you've heard him on the radio for over a decade, which I actually don't know if that's even true. I might be lying. But Ryder, it is so good to have you, man. I wish the circumstances were a little sweeter to talk about, but it's good to have you on, my friend. How you doing?
Very good, man. I think we'd probably still be partying had the circumstances been a little bit different.
Yeah.
It would have been a wild time, but yeah, here we are. And yeah, I did radio in Alberta, Saskatchewan for over 20 years. So you were onto something with over a decade.
Oh, 20 years professional. Yeah, dude, it's good to have you. I've been on your show a couple times, few times, and it's always a really fun time. And was looking for someone to join me tonight to talk about this. And I feel like we just knew each other, so we've only known each other for a few months. It's a little soon in our relationship to be like depressed together, but I feel like there's nothing that bonds like sadness. You know what I mean? So
We've definitely felt it out here the last couple of years. I mean, with two playoff runs that looked like we had a real shot at winning a cup. And then we were all pretty big Jays fans, especially during that run. It's just been like disappointment after disappointment. I wonder sometimes what I'm doing, why I let my personal happiness be entirely dictated by the sports teams I care about. But
I swear to God, and there are people in my life that can vouch this to be true. I literally say that every single time one of my favorite teams loses. I literally say, like, why? Like, what am I? Why? Why do I care? Like, literally, my son, I can't be a father for like 48 hours. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. You know what I mean? And you're right. Like, the Oilers, I mean, that's less to my heart, and I think being a self-centered Toronto fan, I'm not too. I would much rather Toronto be the first team to win in a million years here in Canada than the Oilers. But for the Jays, I literally said that to a buddy like right after the game was over. I was like, literally, between the Blue Jays and between this, like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, it's heartbreaking.
The only thing that is giving me some kind of comfort during this is it was only really two weeks that I committed to watching. I mean, you're paying attention to who's making the team and who's not for months and months and thinking about it for years. I get that. The Blue Jays run was particularly tough because I work in the morning, so afternoons are usually free, and it's either Blue Jays games or like Coronation Street. So I've watched
Take your pick.
I've watched a pile of Blue Jays, and especially last year, there was something special about that team. You could kind of tell right off the hop. And I committed hundreds of hours by the time the season was done. And then to all of it lead to just a disappointing ending. I don't know.
I know.
Like, eventually this has to crack. Well, I guess we mixed in the Four Nations win, which was lovely. But this one felt like it meant a bit more.
Well, I mean, with the Blue Jays, and we're going to talk about the Blue Jays a little bit later, but like with the Blue Jays, it's like, you're right. Like, forget about even the whole season, even just October alone. Like, literally, our lives were hijacked for a month. Like, nothing. And because with baseball, like, playoffs are great as a hockey fan because you're watching hockey every night, but you're watching your team one night and you get to relax and just watch some hockey for fun. Then with playoff baseball, it's literally every single night your emotions are just being destroyed or lifted up and then destroyed, and it's exhausting. For us, it's a little bit different here because I'm going to bed at like 12:30, 1 o'clock every night, and I'm up at like 5 a.m. for work. Like, that 18-hour game, I didn't even sleep. I think I crushed like a half an hour nap before work. Like, it just destroyed you. But yeah, the Four Nations, I kind of like bounce back and forth with it because like it was a beautiful moment and it was emotional for sure. And I think it was just the buildup of the fact that like because I don't know for you, we met after the Four
Yeah.
Nations. Like for me going into the tournament, a really big question for me was do these players even care?
Mhm.
Like it's like some like make believe tournament that has zero history and really this is just a taste test for the Olympics.
Yep.
And you saw early in that tournament these players care a lot and I think that brought out what made me care was like, oh man, like these players want to win it. And I mean, you know, you and I, we've been watching whether it's the Olympics, whether it's the World Juniors. I just, yeah, you can't lose to America. Like you can lose to any other country. And so when you're playing America in the final of the Four Nation, I don't care if this game is played in my backyard. Like you have to win this hockey game. Like so
Yeah,
that's what
totally.
kind of brought that out.
And like even for the winter games, the fact that like Sweden took the Americans to overtime there,
Yeah,
and that one was a coin flip. I mean, US definitely outplayed Sweden near the end of the game and in overtime deserved the win. Um, but I was really hoping that Sweden would win because I just
I
think that
know.
it's a little bit of pressure off. I genuinely would have been happy for Swedish people I know and the country if Sweden would have won. I would have been disappointed, but I still would have been really happy for them as a great hockey nation. It's just a little too close when it's right across the border and like some of the hostility and unrest and chirps online, and it got to be a lot more than just a sports game. It felt like it there was more on the line than just watching two great hockey teams do battle, but great hockey
Yeah.
game nonetheless.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that because, like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not saying that politics and stuff like don't matter. I'm not in that place to say one way or the other. If it matters to you, then it matters to you. For me, like I just live my life in spite of my government. Like I just don't I try not to
Sure.
really worry about it, you know what I mean? Like my government or anyone else's. And like I posted a video today on TikTok, which is something I do now apparently. And like there's people in my feed talking about like, you know, MAGA lover Matthews isn't welcome in my city. And I'm like, I don't know if I really want to talk about that. Like, can we just
Sure.
talk about how crushed we are? Like, do we have to bring Trump into all of this? But let's talk about how crushed we are.
Mhm.
Just there's so many angles to go from here. I feel like for the most part, the sentiment is pretty much the same now. Like Canada dominated. Hellebuck was great. There were mistakes made and opportunities missed. What was your kind of take, like on the game and kind of what ended up happening? I feel like it was a pretty. I don't know, man. Like you tell me, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like opinion is kind of non-existent here. I feel like it's pretty obvious. Like Canada dominated.
Mhm.
They kind of gave away the first 10 minutes, made some mistakes during the overtime, and Hellebuck, you know, won a hockey game and or at least gave the Americans the opportunity to win a hockey game. Is there anything opinionated about that? I feel like that's pretty cut and dry.
I mean, it feels pretty accurate to me. I think that I would have thought had we lost the game, which we did, but leading into it, I would have thought I'd be a lot more judgmental about the roster decisions that were made if we didn't win. But
Mm,
actually, the way that we played that gold medal game, like it was incredibly composed, well put together hockey. I would have liked to see like a cleaner passes coming out of our end at times, but like the game itself was truly a showcase of how beautiful that sport can be. And Wilson's hit off the
whew,
top of the game to get the people going, and I felt like that
yeah,
was like a very impactful moment of the game where Canada started to get some momentum because they did look a little shady the first couple shifts. And he was one of the guys that I thought, is this guy, does he make sense in this kind of tournament? And a couple of the penalties that he took, or a penalty that he took at an inopportune time, had me questioning, like, Hyman could have given you a lot of the stuff he gives without taking a penalty like that, likely. But then you do see his impact. And like, I thought Drew Doughty maybe looked a little slow for parts of the tournament. But then that's the kind of guy you want to look down on the bench, who's calm and collected when it is you're trailing by one in this huge moment, and maybe young guys would start to make mistakes, and he understands that it's a process, and just play our game, and we can beat them if we play our game. And we should have. Hellebuck absolutely goalied us, and some of those stops, like the one on Taves, I've never seen anything like that.
No.
The fact that he was able to reach back and put enough weight on his stick on the ice to stop a standing grown man athlete,
Yeah,
to be able to stop them from just pushing that puck in. It just
that's a
goes,
great
like,
point.
his forearm must have just been blasting
Yeah.
when he, like,
And
leaned back on his stick.
And Taves too, like there was no accuracy. I think he just saw an open net and just shot it. Like there was no, put it low to the ice, put it high. It was just, let's just like bury this and
Shovel it in.
yeah.
And that reach back by Hellebuck was one of the craziest things I've seen. There's storylines, and like, obviously devastated that Canada didn't win. There are a lot more storylines that I would have liked had we won. Hellebuck is one of the ones that I don't mind seeing as somebody who just really appreciates hockey.
I
He has
agree with you
had
there.
a
Yeah.
great career, and he's got this shadow over him that he doesn't step up in big games. And he just put those to rest forever. And I hope McDavid has a few opportunities to do the same thing, because we're starting to hear that as part of his legacy, is that he doesn't win the ones that matter the most. And that sucks, because you see what that guy does night in and night out, and lays it on the line. And like, the country couldn't have been more supportive of what he was bringing to the games. And
Oh my
then
God.
now there's
Yeah.
a narrative that he was somehow at fault for that loss because he didn't put up 3 points in the final game. I mean, it just sucks for a guy who, I think most of his decisions are based around building a legacy. Like, he knows he's not just any player. He knows
Right.
that, he's going to go down one way or another in the record books as one of the best ever. But does that come with a black eye of can't win the big game at the big time? Or does it come back with, does it get written with 2 Stanley Cups, 2 gold medals, and 4 Four Nations championships? Like, that's what we've yet to see. But so back to my Hellebuck point, as somebody that just appreciates him as a player, it's nice that, he got to get rid of that, because that doesn't seem really fair.
No, and I mean, I like cover the Winnipeg Jets for over a year. I, cover the Dallas Stars, so I watch the Central Division a lot. And like, he is the best goalie. Like some people say, like Shesterkin, and there's other like names out there. To me, like you can have that debate. That's fine. It's Hellebuck. Like he's the best goaltender in the world. You watched, especially the last few seasons, but just incredible. You cannot. However, two things not can be true. Two things are true. In the playoffs, he falls apart. And last year was a little bit better, but St. Louis should have won that series. Like the fact, like they literally tied it up with like seconds left on the clock to push it to overtime, and they won in double overtime. For him to have that moment, I'm right there with you. I'm really happy for him. And you're talking about that save. What I found impressive about that paddle save is not just the fact that he made the save, because 100, like it's incredible. If you watch him, which you do, like he doesn't make saves like that. Like he's
Mm.
not super acrobatic. Like he's big and he moves to the right place. He reads the play extremely well. He knows what you're going to do before you do it, before you know. Like he just watches the play like unfold extremely well so that he doesn't have to make these crazy Dominic Hasek like saves. He doesn't have to. And the fact that he did
Yeah. Yeah.
yesterday is like another, you know, like hearing it come out like that, it's like another reason, like, how do we not win this game? Like he doesn't make those saves. Like he doesn't. And oh man, but no, he was terrific. I think, you know, the more that I kind of think about it, and it's so funny, man, right? Because the game was over and you go on TikTok and on Twitter, and there's people sharing their thoughts and people sharing, whether it's prominent people in the media or whoever posting their thoughts. I needed a day. Like I was like, I don't know, like, am I being too like fanboy here? Like we did dominate this, right? Like, am I just like imagining this in my head? And the more I think about it, you know, I think Hellebuck was incredible. As and you think about it, what more could we have done? Because I've heard that being said. What more could have Canada done? And the more I think about it, the start to that game was really the difference.
Mm.
Like it's just my opinion, but I like Matt Boldy's a terrific hockey player, terrific. Should not have split the D like that. Like that should not have happened like that.
Especially our top pairing
Right.
defensive line there. Like
Yeah.
that's the two guys you'd want out in that situation.
100%. And I felt in, you know, overtime, I just felt like McDavid and McKinnon just wanted to finish the game and didn't really take their time to let the play unfold the way that they probably should have. And it just was too back and forth. There wasn't enough letting plays develop. That's again my opinion. But like it's, you know, back to what you're saying about like I'm happy personally. Like it's hilarious with Toronto because now all we're talking about like in Toronto is Matthews is a winner. Don't trade anybody. This year he's coming back and dragging us to the promised land. And I'm like, yeah, I'm happy for Matthews, and it's cool to see him cry because not in a like sadistic way, but like in Toronto, and I know like you guys kind of go through the same thing. Like they don't show any emotion at all here. So like to see Matthews actually show his like human side is like really cool. But I don't know who else I'm happy for. I can only allow myself to be happy for so many guys.
Sure. He's another guy, though, you look at like what people have had to say about him. And that's another guy that, like, when you're that good of a hockey player, you deserve to have some moments in your career that you can celebrate.
Yes.
It sucks it came in a win against Canada and a Canadian team that, like we said, outplayed them. But that's going back to what I said about the roster. Like, I don't know if you change a thing. You just change maybe McKinnon hitting that empty net or Taves pushing that puck through. Or like, you know, both of those breakaways, one for Celebrini, one for McDavid, were both coin flips.
Yeah.
Really. Like they're McDavid on a breakaway is, in my opinion, a 50%. I have to look at his actual career stats.
Yeah.
It feels to me like he probably has scored a more than 50% of the goals that he's had breakaways on and in games. So like we had our chances. And credit to Team USA, they played a good game too. They played a good enough game to stay in it. And then when it's 3-on-3, it's just truly a roulette wheel that you're spinning. Like who knows what it's going to bounce to and bounce on. And you could have all the different types of gameplay thoughts and strategies, but like you look at the way Makar charged that puck. If he makes contact with that puck first, it probably goes down to McDavid and could have looked a lot like the golden goal from Crosby because he would have been in that exact same spot by himself.
Yeah.
And like that was an inch and a half difference of Makar getting to that puck first. Like it's more about luck than I'd care to admit because you got to be good to have luck, but in games like that, when it comes down to 3-on-3, it's luck. Like it's whoever gets the right bounce at the right time, and maybe skill wins some of those games. But quite often, when the teams are all that stacked,
Yeah.
everybody's so damn good, it probably comes down to a bounce. Like,
Yeah. I think, and I agree with you about, and I will bring this back to 3-on-3. I agree with you about the roster construction. I think the only thing I would say, I think, listen, Drew Doughty, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been on the team. He's a, legendary Canadian defenseman. Probably goes to the Hall of Fame, multiple Stanley Cups, multiple gold medal. I think he was on the 2010 team,
yep,
wasn't he? I
yep,
believe as well. So like multiple gold medals. He's slow, man. And when it's 3-on-3, you only have so many guys you can kind of put out there at that moment, right? It's a tough position to put him in. And so your roster, like your bench, kind of shortens a little bit. I think the only difference that I would have made when it comes to the roster, and this is all like hindsight and look, like maybe
sure.
I could be wrong. I would, now that we know that Josh Morrissey was injured, I would have really liked to see Matt Schaefer there. Right?
Yeah.
Just to have another quick puck moving defenseman that can give you some like offense, right? Like Thomas Harley is a very underrated defenseman. I really like his game for the Dallas Stars, a terrific power play guy. But he's not Josh Morrissey, and he doesn't have quite the legs that Matthew Schaefer has. So
Right.
in hindsight, kind of looking back, that's like the one thing is I would have liked to have had a different defenseman to replace, Morrissey that had a bit more jump. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's like the one thing that maybe I would take away.
The other thing that maybe this is Canada's opportunity to switch things up a bit is they really haven't put any of their stake in young players. It's been the guys that have been there, the cup winners. They want to look down the bench and see guys that know how to finish the job, and I get that. And because Four Nations went our way barely,
Yeah.
they decided to run it back again. Now, do you actually have a hard look and say, like, okay, well, look at who dominated this tournament? Truly, other than McDavid, it was a lot of young guys.
Yes.
Like Jack Hughes, the finish to the entire tournament. You have Celebrini, who looked outrageously good.
So good.
You
Yeah.
is a Bedard. Would he have made more sense? I think so. Like we talk about these guys like they're junior hockey players. They've made NHL rosters and they're going up against the best players in the world night in and night out because quite often on their teams you only have a couple young studs. So who are you going to deploy your shutdown defensive pair against? Bedard. So like he wouldn't be out of place in a tournament like this because he's always playing against the other team's best players.
Yeah.
And same with Celebrini. And that switches as you go to teams that have been around forever and some of the older guys like Doughty, he doesn't necessarily have to take D1 minutes anymore or be out there every time McDavid's out there anymore. Whereas some of the young players are because they're on rebuilding teams and that's their only option for like an absolute quality player. So I feel like I get why Canada was so stuck in their ways, but you could have had a Bouchard in there. You could have had like you said, Schaefer would have been tremendous. You could have had a Bedard in there, and those guys might be game changers.
Yeah.
Because they're young and really good.
It's so funny, man, because like I agree with you. And shout out real quick, shout out to Brady in the chat. So we'll start at the end and go to the beginning. So Brady's been with me for a while. I had a hockey podcast for Total Apex Sports a couple years ago, and Brady has hung out with me ever since. From Vancouver, he did say, "What about Bedard? He could have easily gotten 1 or 2 goals yesterday." I don't know, easily, man. I think that's what this kind of all goes back to. Is that like, could they have had like 10 Connor McDavids? And Hellebuck is just awesome. Like, like that game yesterday, it's like, yeah, man, they could have had Bedard. And I do agree with you. I think it's like everything that I think of, I just go back to, but Hellebuck was awesome. Like,
Yeah.
everything I think of like what they could have done, it's like Hellebuck was unreal. I do want to say this. So this kid, I love this, Brady. I am not happy for Matthews. I love this about the West Coast. All right, Ryder, I love you and Lisa and the sauce, and I appreciate you guys having me on. I love this about the West Coast, that everyone hates Toronto, except for when the Blue Jays are in the playoffs, and all of a sudden it's like the best favorite city. We love the Blue Jays so much, but these West Coasters just hate Toronto so much. Not happy for Matthews. Toronto needs to trade Matthews. Canucks or Canada lost, but at least the Canucks will win a Stanley Cup soon. All right, Brady. I don't know how far to take this. I don't know how far to take these jokes, but I love you, Brady, and thank you so much for hanging out, man. Really appreciate you. Appreciate you watching. So it's funny. This is kind of like uh like away from the conversation a little bit, but you mentioned Bouchard, and so I want to have this talk. Bouchard, I was thinking about this and talking to some friends about this before the rosters were announced. And like Bouchard's name came up, and I have such this kid makes my head explode. And as an Oilers fan, I can imagine, and not just a fan, but like yourself who is in the media and you talk about the Oilers every day. Like, this guy, I'm sure it's way worse for you than it is for me. In the regular season, some of the egregious mistakes that this guy makes, it's like unbelievable. And yet you look at like the playoffs when the chips are down, and he's one of the best defensemen of the last 2 postseasons. It's like, so it's like on the one hand, like I don't want him on my Team Canada team because like I don't know what this guy is gonna do. Like, I don't know if he's gonna put up 4 points or if he's just gonna give Austin Matthews a puck right between the faceoff dots. Like, I don't know. But in the playoffs, he's as good as they get. You know what I mean? It's like I didn't know if I wanted, because his ceiling is so high and his floor is like shocking sometimes.
I mean, I see what you're saying, and when they would have made the decision on the lineups, on the roster construction, he was off to a bad start.
Yeah.
And when you do have some noticeable giveaways and you live in a market like Toronto or Edmonton where there's constantly a spotlight on you when you're playing great or when you make mistakes, people notice. They're smart hockey cities, but when you aren't playing your best and you still seem risky because of those mistakes, I understand why he didn't make the team. But then all of a sudden he gets going. And if you're dealing with injuries, the fact that he didn't seem to really be in the conversation was really surprising because, yeah, like he makes mistakes. But when you watch enough of any team, you're going to see the guys that have the puck on their stick for a majority of the game are going to have some mistakes. If you put Bouchard in a market that wasn't underneath a microscope, I don't think you see half those mistakes. Like, unless you're watching every game. Like, Cale Makar makes mistakes. I saw some of them this last 2 weeks, but his upside is worth it. That's a guy you want on the ice, no doubt. I think Bouchard's the exact same. Like, I think he makes his mistakes. He also has the puck on his stick for like 20 minutes a night in Edmonton and makes incredible plays constantly, is a beast on the power play.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody better in the league for being able to control the blue line and take steps around guys in a very small amount of space and then get it to the big dogs. And that's what you'd be doing here is you're getting it to big dog players. So you want a guy that can get it to them. And I think puck moving has to be more of a focus in 2030. That
Yeah.
like watching Parayko, I get what he's there for, but he wasn't able to get the puck to McDavid flying and doesn't know the timing. Like that's why I was surprised with Hyman not on the team as well. And I know I'm sounding like a total homer here, but I've watched enough of this team that like he would have made so much sense for being on McDavid's line, Celebrini on the other side. You instantly have a guy that knows what McDavid's doing, and then you're taking kind of a risk with this young, incredible player, which panned out. It just, yeah, I watched, and those are the two from around here that if people watched more Oilers hockey, I think they would also agree that those two guys could have and maybe should have had a spot on the team.
Yeah, I mean, Hyman's the interesting one because for me, and listen, I'm not going to go that. Well, we can talk about this another time as far as I'm not going to throw shade on like Marner or whatever. I think Hyman should have stayed in Toronto, and I think breaking up the core four earlier than they did would have benefited the Leafs huge. And you can pick whoever you want. You want to get rid of who? Marner for Hyman or Nylander for Hyman, whatever your opinion allows you to think, that's fine. I would have rather had Hyman. I just think that he plays with more passion. I think he plays with more heart. I think he's just willing to do more with his body than those guys are. And I just think he brings a completely different demeanor. I think, not to get too like Toronto Maple Leaf here, but Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and Nylander, all great players. They're all the same. Like their emotions are the same, their demeanor is the same, and Hyman just has this extra chip that those guys don't have. So the Hyman argument, I am here for to put him on the team. I think Kunitz would not have been on Team Canada if it wasn't for his chemistry with Crosby. And I don't think that's an opinion. I think that's a pretty like factual statement. And I think it could have been the same with Hyman and with McDavid.
Well, and you look at Devin Taves on the team unquestionably because he's Makar's guy. Like the elite of the elite often do get to bring their guy with them because it makes sense. You're not spending all week flipping lines around to see if Wilson can figure McDavid out. You wouldn't have had to. We would have just would have had a top line undeniably. So yeah, it's interesting. Like it's easy to look back now. Like we said, though, you look at how well we played yesterday.
Oh man,
that is such an incredibly constructed team that really stepped up in a big game, and we just didn't get the bounces. It felt like
no, and just to kind of wrap it up too, I think before the Olympics started, and I'll just eat this, like I'll say it how I felt before the Olympics started. I would have not wanted Bouchard. Like I just his downs scare me. As magnificent as his ups are, his downs scare me. However, one thing about these rosters is you want playoff performers because this is as close to playoffs without being in actual playoffs. That's why when Sam Bennett wasn't originally on the roster, I was shocked. I actually was shocked because to me, it's like this guy is your definition of 40 points regular season, playoffs come, and he's like, and we saw that last year. And so to me, it's like, why wouldn't you want the like last year, by definition of the Conn Smythe, the best playoff performer last year? Why wouldn't you want him on your roster? And I hear myself say that, and then I hear myself say that I don't want Bouchard on my team. And it's like, well, wait, like in the playoffs, Bouchard's no joke, man. Like he comes to play come playoff time.
Record breaking. And like a lot of people think he's just a power play merchant, but he's really not. Like he is his puck moving gets him a ton of assists, as many as the power play does.
Before we move on, I just want to let everybody know, as you see up in the top left-hand corner, this show is brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Shout out to my buddy Chris. Best sporting card store on the internet. Promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. FirstRoundCollectibles.com, promo code SPORTS10, and Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. Thank you for having us on board as always. Also, if you're watching on video, this is Corona Zero, and I'll be drinking these until a local non-alcoholic brewery starts sending me free beer. I don't want your money. I just want a 2-4 once a month. That would be great. Non-alcoholic beers are expensive all of a sudden because it's like, dry January or whatever. It's like hip to not drink, where people like me who like have to have these, I would appreciate some free or cheap beer from time to time. 5 years ago when I stopped drinking, it was like $7 for a 12 pack, and now it's like 20, and it's like, can I help you? I'm trying to make smart decisions here. Like, can we lower these prices a little bit? But so speaking about roster construction, I want to touch on this, and more so for Team USA, because I found this very interesting. As you know, I cover the Dallas Stars, and I wrote a whole piece about, like, how the hell is Jason Robertson not on this team? Like, how? I just don't understand it. Like, last season got off to a really slow start. He had surgery on his foot before last season, had a very, very slow start. The roster for Four Nations was announced, and all of a sudden he just came alive. And that entire Dallas Stars team, the difference between 2024 part of last season's schedule and 2025 is night and day. Like, from January 1st onward, they were the best team in the league. They had, like, Jason Robertson had the most points, the most goals. Wyatt Johnston came alive, the best power play, best penalty. They were in every category the best team of the 2025 portion of last season. And Jason Robertson carried that right into this season. And I was shocked that he wasn't on the team. I thought personally Cole Caulfield should, like, how he wasn't on the team either. Like, between the two of them, like, you lost to Canada in the Four Nations by 1 goal in overtime, and you just left 80 goals at home for what? For JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck and whoever else you want to throw in there. It didn't make sense to me. And now you watch this tournament, and I'm seeing a lot of people now say that, Bill Guerin is, like, vindicated and justified, and this is why they put, like, built, like, this roster this way. And for JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck, who were terrific on the penalty kill yesterday, that's why these guys were on this team for this game in this moment. And to me, they beat Sweden 2-1 in overtime, and they beat Canada 2-1 in overtime. I still, like, yes, JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck on the penalty kill. Okay, fine. I still stand by, like, Hellebuck was amazing. Like, that 5-on-3, it wasn't like Canada had no chances. Like, they were all over them in that 5-on-3, and Hellebuck just stopped everything. I also think they really fell in love with his glove side, and it wasn't like, we literally saw Cale Makar score when he went to the blocker, and I don't think they did that enough, but that's kind of a different conversation. They won 2 games in the medal round in overtime by the score of 2-1. I still think they would have liked to have 80 goals on their roster. I feel like it would have been good. There was a lot of question marks about this roster heading into the Olympics. Do you think the fact that they won is enough to vindicate those decisions, or do you still think that, like, it's just the margins are so thin? Like, we're literally 1 goal away from having this conversation all over again about why were those two left at home.
Well, and when you look at 7 of the games in the playoff rounds, of the 7, because there was 4, 2, and 1, yeah. 5 of them went to 3-on-3 overtime.
Yeah.
Another reason why you want Cole Caulfield, who might be the best player in the league at
That's right.
3-on-3.
Yeah, great point. Yeah.
So that one was very confusing to me and Jason Robertson, but they said flat out they were building a team to beat Canada, and they did. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. But Hellebuck was awesome. I just go back to that every time.
yeah, truly, man. If he would have had just an okay game, like, we probably win that sucker 4-1.
Oh man, I know. And I think what I love about this is that, and we'll wrap up this conversation and move on here with this. I what I love, and I don't say love as in I seriously love, because what I love is talking about Team Canada winning, but kind of facetiously saying, like, what's so funny to me is, like, the two biggest talking points as far as weaknesses go for Canada when you compare it to the US was their defense and their goaltending, right? And I think, like you said, Parayko, I think Sanheim, fine. I think there's decisions there. What's so funny is that Binnington is not the reason why that team lost yesterday.
Yeah.
Like that first goal, again, I'll say it, like 6 minutes into the hockey game, Matt Boldy, again, terrific hockey player. He's won me a couple parlays. I'm not mad at Matt Boldy. He should not have been able to split the defense that early in a hockey game, let alone at all. It's just funny how we put these, like, Binnington. It's like, yeah, you know what? Connor Hellebuck was the difference in that hockey game.
Yeah.
That says nothing about the game that Jordan Binnington had, because he did
Yeah.
exactly what they needed him to do.
He did enough to win that game. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought throughout the tournament looked pretty sharp the whole time. Like, surprisingly, too, with the season he's had in St. Louis. The fact that he can just big game it, and he did, is surprising. Yeah, we didn't win. And yes, he was outperformed by the goalie at the other end. But like you said, that has nothing to do with
No.
what he did. He did enough that the team that we had in front of him, that we sent, that forward group line, should be gold medal winners. If you have a
Yeah.
goalie that does as much as he did in this tournament, that should be enough.
Yeah. Before we move on from the Olympics, we've already talked about it a few times. I just want to bring this up real quick, ask your opinion. 3-on-3 gold medal game. Yes, no. I kind of go back and forth with this. I think, if I remember correctly, the golden goal, it was 4-on-4. It wasn't like it was 5-on-5. It was 4-on-4. The Olympics have always been a little bit different. You watch the World Cup in soccer, which is coming to Canada, in just a couple months. They have shootout, penalty kick, right? Doesn't matter if it's the, gold medal or whatever. I think for the integrity of the game, you got to finish these games 5-on-5, just like but the Olympics has always kind of, like, done stuff like this. So what's your thought on the 3-on-3?
I mean, you look at that one day, and there was 4 quarterfinal games back to back to back to back on the same ice surface. You can't have 5-on-5. Like, they only had
Yeah.
one rink that these guys could play on. So, like, that,
Interesting. Yeah.
as far as gold medal games, I would like for it to be different for that. They did have the closing ceremonies that were coming up right after. They have, like, a timeline that this game has to be wrapped by. But it's too bad. I mean, I think that there could be a compromise there where you go 5-on-5 for 10 minutes, 4-on-4 for 10 minutes, then 3-on-3 for 10 minutes, and then a shootout or something. And that still probably gets you out of there an hour after the game's supposed to end, and maybe just schedule it so that that's the case. And you got an extra hour of leeway before the closing ceremonies. It doesn't feel like it was a just way to end the tournament. And I would have said that if Canada would have won 3-on-3 too. It's just a completely
100%.
different game.
Yeah.
You're not playing hockey as much anymore. You're playing a gimmicky way that you can get things done quick. And I get it. It makes sense in the regular season in the NHL to go 3-on-3 because you don't want I don't want to go to a game that has triple overtime on a weeknight for a regular season. And I do
Yeah.
want to see that somebody wins. So the 3-on-3 thing I think has been a good addition to regular season NHL. But can you imagine how pissed you'd be if they did that in playoffs? Like
Oh
if you
man.
had a game 7 and it was a 3-on-3 finish. And I mean, this is as important, if not more important, depending on who you're asking. So it does feel weird that in the gold medal game, I understand when they only have one ice surface and when you have 4 games, man, the ice was beat up by that last game
Oh yeah. And
in the quarterfinals. So
and to your point, man, like I had, and I haven't actually vocalized this on any platform yet. Like I had no problem with 3-on-3 up until the gold medal game.
mhm.
Like I had no problem with 3-on-3 quarterfinals. I had no problem with it. It was the gold medal game that kind of makes you think, like,
It
because
was
you're
just
right.
such a great game, and then you know it's gonna be over with that kind of talent jumping onto the ice. You
Oh,
know it's gonna be over within 5 minutes.
yeah, 100%. All right. Do you think Connor Hellebuck will be booed back in Winnipeg? You know what, man? I thought about this. Because they are going to do a like ceremony for Josh Morrissey getting his silver and for Hellebuck getting his gold. They are going to do that for sure. I don't think so. I don't think they will boo him. I think Connor Hellebuck is beloved there. I think the fact that he's signed that 8-year contract kind of out of nowhere, the fact that the whole like narrative is that nobody wants to stay here, and the best goalie in the world said, "I'll stay here." I don't know, man. I don't think so. I think they'll
They'd
give
be
him his flowers.
they would be stupid to
Yeah.
do that, especially like you're not Las Vegas. You don't have players asking to get traded to Winnipeg. So you've got the best goalie in the world who just proved that they are. I think you respect that. And they're a good hockey town. Like that town
Oh
knows its
yeah.
hockey. And won't they be cheering on Kyle Connors too? Was he
Oh yeah, Kyle Connor. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, it's not just one guy either. It's kind of like a group congratulations that
Yeah.
might lessen the blow a little bit for the fan base.
That's true. And Kyle Connor is another guy that is like beloved there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's move on. And then we'll wrap it up. Once again, Ryder, thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. And again, I wish that it was better, better circumstances to chat. But let's move on. The NHL starts up again Wednesday night. And it's a fight to the finish now, man. Like a sprint to the finish. We're talking 3 games and 4 nights for most teams for most of the way. I think there's 16 games in March, if I remember correctly, for a lot of these teams. Let's talk about your Edmonton Oilers first before we move on. 28, 22, and 8, 64 points. 4 points back from Vegas for first in the Pacific, and only 4 points up on the Kings, who are currently outside of that second wild card spot. Kind of what you Wednesday night, Thursday night, Anaheim, LA, both in Anaheim and LA, and then you're in San Jose on Saturday to take on the Sharks. Pretty competitive 3 games in 4 nights. I just literally got a notification on my phone while we were doing this that McDavid is not expected to rejoin the team right away. I don't know how much you know about that. So we'll start there. How important is this stretch leading up to the trade deadline for the Oilers? And kind of from your perspective out there, like, what are we like? They're not comfortably in a playoff spot. I think because the Oilers are the Oilers, and they do this thing every year where they just lull everybody to sleep and then become one of the best teams in the league, in the final stretch. Are we ultra confident in the product that we're watching from the Oilers right now, or is there some serious questions kind of remaining as we sprint towards the finish?
I think if we were in this position where we're at, right in the mix, a couple points up on this team, couple points down on this team on a normal year where the break happens at about the halfway point, I would feel very comfortable that the Oilers would have more than enough runway to prove that they're one of the best teams in the Pacific, if not the best, and stamp their way into a healthy playoff spot. But like, we're not at the halfway point of the season. We've got
No.
24 games left. Like, it's go time. So that has me a little bit concerned because, yeah, the Kraken's right there, the Ducks, the Kings, the Golden Knights are ahead of them. The Sharks are still in the mix, and maybe Celebrini comes back and his ass is on fire from the vibes that he got playing, with the best in the world.
Yeah.
I bet he dragged some momentum back to that team as well, and they're apparently in the mix for some big players at the trade deadline. So, yeah, I'm not comfortable at all, and especially if McDavid's out for a lengthy duration of time. It sounds like it might be a hand injury. That's the rumors I'm hearing around town.
Okay.
It looked like he was nursing something, and it doesn't look like Draisaitl's hands are very good right now either. I don't know if these guys fought each other in the dressing room at some point or why they're both having hand issues at the same time.
Yeah.
They've just been holding hands a little bit too hard, maybe. But no, I mean, there is something about the team when either Draisaitl or McDavid are out of the lineup. I feel like we get way more out of other players in the lineup.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like that with Team Canada a little bit too, that you have these guys that are like A1 great NHL players, 40 goal guys, 45 goal guys, and they can tend to sit around and wait for McDavid to do something. Like, it felt like the third and fourth line of Canada was like, okay, we just got to go and do our job. Well, your job can also be score. And when McDavid
Yeah.
and Draisaitl especially are going, it feels like there's a lot of other forwards that are passengers. So I don't know if it's the worst. I'd rather have him in the lineup. Obviously, he's the best player in the world, and I don't think it's particularly close. But maybe this is what we need to kickstart the rest of the lineup, give them some confidence, and then you reinsert McDavid back in, and it's just go time, and we, rip into the playoffs. At this point, being first in the Pacific, second or third, I don't think is that huge of an advantage because
No.
to me, like if Vegas ends up first and you get the Kraken, the Ducks, the Kings, or the Sharks, I like Edmonton's chances a lot in the first round. And then you got Vegas in the second round. Whereas if you end up first, it's almost the exact same situation where there's a very good chance you're going to have Vegas in the second round. And that will be a very big test. So it'll be interesting to see. They have looked like a great team far fewer times this season than I feel like they have in the last 2 years, where they looked almost unbeatable for stretches of the season. I mean, we just won our third game in a row 4 games ago, and then we lost the next 3 going into the break. Like
Yeah.
that's not the same team as the one that won 16 in a row in January last year or whatever it was.
And I'm curious about it. Like, first of all, you're talking about the playoffs. I like right now, like you said, right now, if the playoffs started tomorrow, you guys would get the Kraken. Vegas would get Utah, and Colorado would get the Ducks. If I am the Oilers, I would much rather the Kraken than, because I still don't really believe in that team. I would be surprised, to be honest with you, if the Kraken are the team standing in the playoffs. I expect them to kind of fade away. That's my personal opinion. But like the Ducks, man, like that, like we talked about this on like your show, like that's not guaranteed 2-point night anymore. None of these
Right.
teams are.
Yeah.
And so I would like my chances if I was I would way prefer the Kraken than any other team that is kind of in that mix. I find it curious, man, because like this year more than any other year, I I I feel like if because there was a point in the season where I really did feel like the Oilers are not getting back to the Stanley Cup final. I just feel that every other team is rising while these perennial like contenders are kind of dropping a little bit. But now that we're getting closer, I just think like if the Oilers get in, which I do think is an if, a small one, they're probably going to get in, but there is that kind of question, like you said there. Um, like I don't trust Colorado in the playoffs. They're incredible this year, but we've seen in the last few years with the playoffs what they've done. Game 7 against Dallas, 2-0 lead, third period, they lost 5-2. Now, that was also their bitter ex-girlfriend kind of came in and stole the show, and Mikko Rantanen. But Vegas, like, they're not overly impressive this season. Like, I think Dallas would probably be the team that I would trust the most, but they have their own playoff demons that they need to get rid of, especially against the Oilers, specifically against the Oilers. So, yeah, I think there are a lot of questions about the Oilers heading into the playoffs. In the same breath, I just feel like everything is such a wash now that they could easily find themselves back in the Stanley Cup final, just because there's no team that I look at and say, I am 100% confident in all of these guys. You know what I mean? And you have to, in my opinion, you have to fall back to what and we know that the Oilers just find a way to get there. Well, not every year, but in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think like it would come down to a few things. I think they will need to be active before March 6th and add a piece, whether it's a third line center, which I'm kind of hoping for, or you move Nuge to that spot in a more permanent position and get yourself a winger for McDavid in that top line. We don't have a ton of space to work with as far as cap goes. So I think that kind of third line center is maybe makes more sense. And I feel like we could really use a second line defenseman added to the mix too. And there's some names out there that are enticing. I mean, we just talked about Parayko. What if he hits the block? He's a hometown guy here. He could fit into that spot really good, and then you're not leading on Wallman quite as much. You can let him find his game and his pace a bit more. So I think if we want to take another run, we got to end up going into the playoffs healthy, and I think they need to add some things. And then, of course, we need our goaltending to be better than it's been the last month and a half.
Well, let's wrap it up with that, because that's a huge, like, I just don't understand. Like, how, number one, again, you guys watch every single night. I watch a lot of Oilers, but not every night. And so you guys are much better to talk about this. Number one, I don't understand how you got to 2 straight Stanley Cup finals with Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard. And that's not even a shot. Like, Stuart Skinner, we all know the downside. You did not lose the Stanley Cup because of Skinner. Like, Skinner has been terrific for the most part in the playoffs. He has his hiccups. Pickard goes in, and then Skinner comes back and he's lights out. Now you don't have him anymore. Now you have Jari. You have Connor Ingram backing up. How do we feel about this goaltending tandem heading into the playoffs? And I think, like, say what you want about Stuart Skinner, at least he's the devil, like, you've seen him figure it out, where with Jari, I mean, I don't know what to expect from him come postseason time.
Yeah, I mean, from watching them both, I feel like I'm more impressed with this tandem than I am with Skinner and Pickard. Like
Interesting. Okay.
Ingram to me feels like a lot more safe
He's solid. Yeah.
to put in. He sucks up pucks like crazy, where like the rebound control, depending on the night with Stu and with Kelvin, could be all over the place. And we could let in 5 and the big dogs don't even have a chance to win the game. Whereas these guys to me feel like just a little bit more steady. They'll probably let in 2 to 3 game goals a game, and that's probably enough with our lethal power play. When it comes to playoffs, there's less penalties. We know that. So 2 to 3 a night kind of needs to become 1 to 2 a lot of nights. I don't know if they're the guys that are going to do that, but I had lost a lot of confidence in Pickard this season, and it was almost like Stu was playing so good right before he got traded. I kind of remember the good times, and the playoffs were the good times too. But yeah, I just don't know if he was the guy. He was a very young goalie who's been to back-to-back Stanley Cups. I
Yeah.
feel like we should have been able to get more for him in the market. Like, I'm really surprised that a young team wouldn't have been more interested in giving up some assets for a guy like Stuart Skinner. You look at like somebody like Chicago, where why wouldn't you want a guy that's been through it? And his ceiling's huge. Goalies usually aren't what they're going to be until they're 27, 28 years old. And
Yeah.
he's what, 26 right now?
Yeah.
To me, he was like an asset that we had to move. It's crazy that all we got was Jari and we had to give up Kulak and a pick.
That
When
was surprising to me.
when Jari cleared waivers last year.
Yeah.
But it felt like the management here knew that it was time to make a change. And I get it. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was the right one.
I didn't like the Kulak thing for you guys. I felt I felt that he was a really reliable defenseman for the most part, and to having to move him as well, I didn't love it. I also was just like Jari, yeah, like you said, like Jari, sure, when he signed his deal, he had all this potential and he was a good goaltender, but we haven't seen him be what they paid him to be in like 2 years. Like,
Yeah.
what are all these assets for? Like, to me, that felt like a pretty normal swap. I think the only way that I could see this go differently is like you knew that heading into the regular season, you probably had to change the goaltending. And even though we got what we got over the last 2 playoff runs, if you were to get anything more for Skinner, the summer was probably when that was going to happen.
Uh-huh.
And when he got moved, it just felt like you just said, it just felt like everybody knew that Skinner was on the move. And if at that point, all of your, uh, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Your
I heard
coverage is gone.
rumblings. I heard rumblings too that like he was not asking for a trade, but definitely let them know that he was cool with the idea of it. Like his family was
Yeah.
getting death threats.
Which
That
is insane.
It's absolutely ridiculous. So I can understand why the hell would you want that? Like for your whole career, that sounds so exhausting to just
Yeah.
constantly be the guy that even if you have like an okay game with one slip up, shouldn't be a big deal. Your team should outscore your mistakes occasionally, and everybody's just on you constantly about what a piece of work you are. Like I can see why he was ready for a change too, and the team was as well. So we'll see. I actually really have liked Ingram's game for the most part. I think that his ceiling is a lot higher than people give him credit for. I wouldn't mind seeing him, and I think with the amount of games that we got coming up, and every team's got coming up, we're going to see a lot of backups.
Oh,
Like we're
yeah.
going to see tandems from almost every team because when they're playing every second night, or like you said, 3 and 4 nights quite often. So I think Ingram will get a fair kick at the can and hopefully does something with it.
Yeah, I mean, before, like, Ingram last season, he was okay. He did have to leave, for, personal reasons for a little bit, but
Mhm.
a couple years ago, he was um, incredible for at the time the Coyotes.
Yeah.
So I'm right there with you. I would probably have more faith in him as well. All right, man. There's other things that I want to talk to you about, but I want to respect your time and also here. It is late, and so we will wrap it up. Before we do, I gotta just quickly. You mentioned the Blue Jays at the beginning of this show. How are we feeling? Spring training is in full swing. No pun intended or intended. Sure, pun intended. And the regular season is right around the corner. How are we feeling about our Blue Jays? Um, I honestly, when the playoffs were over, I think I was so crushed, not just because like my favorite team just lost in game 7 when they were up 3-0 and had our hearts ripped out of our chest. Not just because earlier in the week I slept for 20 minutes and probably fell asleep while I was driving on the way to work on the 404. And by the way, talking about 3-on-3, get the game. Maybe in baseball, they should only have like 3 people like
Yeah.
defending, like just the
Yeah.
entire field, just 3 people to span the whole field. Get that sucker over quickly. Um, but I was also really crushed because I really felt like this was it. Like this was the moment. Like in April, like this roster was not supposed to do even remotely close to what they did. I not even make the playoffs. Straight up, I I have 2 kids and I watch a lot of sports in the fall, winter, spring months. And so baseball, I kind of give my time. I remind my wife that I like spending time with her and kind of watch a
Sure.
lot of the late like the late baseball games. I watch a lot of like the West Coast and a lot of those late games to kind of get my 7 o'clock life back. And I didn't watch the Jays for the first 2 months. And halfway through the summer, I had to be like, babe, I'm sorry. I'm back to not seeing you again. Like this is,
Yeah.
Um, so I honestly felt like this was our shot, and there's no way that this roster comes back and does this again. And then the management did something that I could not see coming. Um, they added really good players,
Yeah.
which shocked me. So now I'm back on the bandwagon, and I can't wait for a World Series chit chat in October. How are we feeling about the Blue Jays heading into April?
I mean, I think like more with my heart than my head. I'm sad about some of the guys that have walked.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Bichette fan, have been for a long time, and I kind of get it. Like when push came to shove and the amount of money that he was gonna get on the free market. I don't know if you go all in on a guy like that. I sure would have liked it though, because I've loved watching him. And then Bassett was kind of a tough one to see walk. And then to hear that Buck Martinez is retiring sucks
oh,
just because he's such a big part. So
I
like
know.
emotionally, I just need to see this lineup and start to like develop some fandom feelings for other guys on the team to
Right.
get really fired up again or to even like build up a belief. But yeah, like I mean, you look at guys like Clement in the playoffs they had, and maybe that's a once in a lifetime thing. And I guess we just hope that it's not. That
Yeah.
we hope that like this is we saw flashes of Barger that's the player that's in him. Let's hope that that's the case because there's as much as they've made some additions, they've also I think left space for those guys to play huge roles on this team this year.
Oh, big time. And I think like the additions, obviously, Dylan Cease is a huge arm to add. I was shocked when they signed him because that's the type of player that the Blue Jays just don't get
Yeah,
ever. Bichette, I understand like this like management has always wanted to build from the defense out. And that's what I think is in mind with not re- signing Bichette. That being said, he has the most hits in the MLB every year. Like, to what point can we just like let other people play defense and like have, George Springer, excellent redemption story for the year and a half before last season. He was one of the worst like hitters in baseball. Like, and he gets hurt all the time. So I think that the Blue Jays could have signed Bichette for as much as he wanted. I think that my cell phone bill proves as much. And I feel like, listen, you're gonna give me a mystery $50 late charge like every month, and you can't re-sign Bichette. Like, can we like work out a deal here or something? Um, and it's just weird seeing him play third base with the Mets. Like, it's weird. It just feels weird,
Yeah.
It feels weird. I'm curious about the Barrios, like the first 2 rounds when the World Series came around, they didn't dress him and he just left. And now everyone is like, bygones be bygones, because they need him. Like, they need him now. So there are questions for sure. But I'm definitely caught up in the fever. That's for sure.
Yeah. And like this Santander thing is ridiculous.
Oh my goodness.
The fact that he waited until now to make the announcement that he needs surgery. I think that's still the case, right? Is he getting the surgery?
Yeah.
Has he gotten it? Do we know? Yeah.
I don't know if he has gotten it. I'm assuming that he has by now.
Because like they need him to step up with what he makes too. I know that they're not dealing with the same cap things that the NHL is and whatever. Like, you can still obviously look at the Dodgers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the cap is. You can win. You can buy a championship. But yeah, like he's getting paid so much that they couldn't keep Bo on and make him a second baseman. Like, that's what I would have liked to see.
Yeah.
But you're paying a guy like that to sit out. Like, sucks, because I thought we'd need him this year. But
yeah, and I mean, like it felt like because he missed all of last year and they missed out on Bichette, they missed out on Tucker. It felt like this was their free agent kind of pickup because he didn't play last year. So this is kind of the addition that they didn't get with missing out on those 2 guys. Well, Ryder, thank you again so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. I've had a great time on the show with you and with Lisa, and so it really means a lot for you to hop on and help out my little show. I appreciate it very, very much. Where can the people find you? What do you got coming down the pipe? Is it coming down the pipe or coming down the pike?
Pipe.
I feel like I've heard both. It is pipe, right?
Well, it's pipe in Alberta.
Right, where Pike would be like New Jersey or something. Yeah, true. I guess it depends where you are. What do you got coming up, man?
Yeah, we're you can catch our show. It is 9 to 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, so 11 a.m. Eastern start. And you can find us, The Sauce with Ryder and Lisa, on YouTube, on Instagram at Ryder and Lisa, and just a whole bunch of nonsense trying to figure out how to like turn our show into, it's a sports show, but there's more entertainment than there is sports. Yes. And it just doesn't feel like that has been tackled very many times in the past. So we don't really have anybody to study. We're just kind of making shit up on as we go. So we'll see.
Yeah, I will say, and I'm not just saying this because you are here. My wife will tell you too. I never listened to you guys before. I kind of knew who you are through the Oilers Nation thing, and through like the Nation Network and all that. But I never watched. And when I was on with you guys the first time, we ended up watching the first half of the show. We're like, man, these guys are like really funny and they really do a good job. Like, you're both professionals. You're both on like the radio. You both talk for a living. You're both very good at what you do. I do feel like I need to like watch and see what's like the most like trending show on HBO before I go on, just in case you ask me a random question about like some show that I've never seen. But no, man, you guys do an awesome job. And yeah, definitely check them out. It's a great time. And as for this, so I was going to say this at the beginning, but I forgot. Just for everybody kind of listening, I know there's a lot of people on Total Apex who have been with me since I was on podcast on their channel. And this is kind of something new that I'm trying. Solder on Sports Podcast Network. We started it in the summertime, me and some buddies, and we were doing the football show weekly, and we tried to do other things, but life was kind of chaotic and it wasn't always as consistent as we wanted. So now that life has kind of settled down and Canada lost and there's nothing left to live for, we're kind of just starting fresh. And we're going to do a Canadian show, me and my buddy Tom. If you watched us during the Blue Jays playoff run, you'll remember Tom. We're doing This Week in Canada. When he can't join us, I'm going to get some friends of mine from the industry like Ryder and like others to join me. And then every Wednesday, we will rotate NHL and baseball. So this week, Wednesday, we'll be talking about the MLB as spring training's coming up. And next week, we'll talk about the NHL. And every podcast will be available the next morning on Spotify. So that's kind of what we're doing. And we'll see. We'll see if I stick to what I say. I have no idea. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go along. But Ryder, once again, thank you so much for hanging out, man. And yeah, can't wait till you guys have me back on. For everybody else, First Round Collectibles, promo code SPORTS10, 10% off your order. Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. Until then, we will see you all next time.